Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the first episode of the Jaded Game Makers podcast. I'm the host, Martin, a jaded, tired, and very angry game developer with 10 plus years of experience. And I'm joined today by my guest, Teddy.
Hello, so I'm Teddy and a very similar background than Martin. So I've been in game development maybe 15 years now and transition more into production and having my own company called Defiant Bear Studios.
Cool. And what we want to do today is basically tear apart the game Terraria. I think we both enjoy the game, but we're not going to let that stop us from basically complaining about it. At least for me.
I actually didn't find so many complaints about Terraria, but I'm sure you will handle that side for me. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. Don't worry. That's the plan at least.
Cool.
So, kind of the way we will approach it, as usual, although this is the first episode, is we'll talk about the game design, about what we think might be going on there, maybe the game production, maybe some programming decisions, and try to give our perspective on this with our experience and with games in general, and also with game development.
Yeah, so that sounds great. Do you think we should maybe tell to some of the audience what Terraria is? Because maybe not everybody knows what the game is.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so Terraria is basically also most of you have probably played Minecraft or at least know the what it's about. And Terraria, in a nutshell, is like a very similar game to Minecraft, but the main difference is that it's in 2D, so you have like a side scroll kind of view of the game the entire time. And I would say, I don't want to get too much into the game design yet, but I would say it's maybe more focused on having like a story and more like role-playing elements behind it, in a nutshell. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And actually, this already segues well into my first complaint. So,
Okay. Great.
Do you think that it's basically just a blatant ripoff of Minecraft? They even have the zombies. They kind of rip it off in many ways.
Yeah, I think you could say that. I think what they did well though is that, like I mentioned, they have a lot of like RPG elements, and compared to the original Minecraft, I think the original Minecraft was just basically building your base and gathering your tools and everything, whereas Terraria straight off the bat had quite some kind of like progression element and a lot more of like boss fights and this kind of elements who, at least for me, made it a bit more interesting, maybe. But yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I guess, well, I didn't play Terraria when it first came out, and I have a feeling that maybe when it first came out, it was actually basically just a ripoff. I'll be honest here. But now I think I agree. I think they basically took a different path where it's more about progressing, more about leveling up. It feels a bit more like an ARPG, at least to me. But some elements are it's basically just stolen from Minecraft. Let's be honest. Even the NPCs and everything, like it's it's basically 1-to-1.
Yeah, and even like the progression in the kind of like pickaxe you have and the minerals you can mine with it and all of that. It's like kind of, it's very, very similar to Minecraft.
Different biomes as well, yeah. It all just basically looks like Minecraft in 2D, which even makes it probably a lot easier to implement. I think it was basically started off just with one person, and I think it's in XNA, the engine, so even has some good modding that just like Minecraft.
Quite a while ago.
Yeah, quite a while ago. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not a big complaint. Like every game kind of has to start somewhere, right? So you kind of have to.
You're keeping your hard complaints for later, right?
Well, I kind of like the game. I have to be honest. I think like it's pretty simple in what it does, and it's not that original, but it does what it does well. So Hey, I can't be too brutal with this game. It's pretty good.
I remember you mentioning something that really annoyed you in the beginning about the inventory system.
Yeah. Okay. So in general, I think there's two things that I don't like about the game. One is the inventory system, but that's probably just because I'm a chaotic person and I cannot like for the life of me just like put something in a chest because I think I will definitely need it later. So I just keep it all in the inventory. But the other thing that I just don't like is it feels a bit like this game maybe would have worked well in the past before you could just go online and look everything up. But nowadays, I mean, you have really good guides online about how to progress, how to become OP, all of this stuff, exactly what path to follow, where you need to farm to get the right equipment. And I think this takes a lot from this game. If you could just like go in blind, it would take you a lot longer to get anywhere. But if you just look everything up online, and the game kind of, I mean, it's so the crafting is pretty complicated, so you kind of feel like you have to. I don't know. It feels like it takes a bit from the game.
Hmm. I think that's a very interesting point actually, because it's kind of like they got themselves into a trap there, because I think just like you said, the crafting is very complicated, and in general, I think the progression past the moments where you basically finish mining the first set of minerals and upgrading your tools and weapons with like the first set of minerals, it's very obscure. And well, when I was playing, I don't I didn't feel like I could really find my way by myself without like a guide or anything. For example, when you get to let's say the part with the wall of flesh at the bottom of hell,
Mm-hmm.
um, I think like finding out that you have to drop the doll in the lava to to spawn the wall of flesh and access like the second part of the game that is like supposed to be the hard mode, and where the whole world changes and all of that. I mean, just finding out that you have to throw the doll in the lava, unless you randomly drop the doll by killing like the guy that drops it, and
Ah,
it,
yeah,
it
yeah,
happens to
actually.
be
Mm-hmm.
it happens to fall in the lava. I don't know how you can find that out. Basically, there is like
Yeah.
no signifier or anything.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. Yeah, maybe that can happen. That you basically just kill like one of those demons and it drops it in the lava, and that's how people find out. But you kind of don't find out this way. I think the majority of the players just look it up.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not the only example. I think when you get, well, I think the further down hard mode you get, the more you have examples of this, of like very obscure kind of progression mechanics. And so so I don't know if it's because there is like a very high availability online of like guides and internet nowadays and all of that. So they kind of like work around that by making by being okay with like having the progression very obscure and very kind of relying on a guide. Whereas in the past, I think you would have had to maybe make your game design like self-explanatory a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Although I think even in the past you probably could have done this, like for example with the doll, that there is a way for it to drop, even though it's kind of obscure. But yeah, but maybe you would do it for optional content as opposed to just something that you have to progress through.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, I do remember like some games from my from my childhood where we were also like quite obscure and stuff, but like, I think it was still a bit more accessible in a way. Like you had maybe a hint at least of something. Like for example, you would have like an NPC somewhere in a game that would tell you something that would give you like a small hint about how to progress further. Like whereas for example, yeah, again like that example, unless you happen to be lucky and drop the doll in the lava randomly, I think you
Mm-hmm.
would just figure out, oh, okay, that's the end of the game then. You know,
Yeah.
because you don't even know it. because that's the problem also with sandbox games like that. You don't never know if there is an end to it. So you think, yeah, maybe that's the end, and I'm just supposed to be mining forever from
Yeah,
now on.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have no way of knowing that there is like that other mass of like content on the other side of that boss basically. And yeah.
I actually do wonder if this is on purpose because it's weird to rely on people looking things up because it doesn't really change things that much. If the game gives you a hint, is it really that different to you just not seeing any hints and in frustration going online to look something up? It feels like the second, like the latter is the worst of the two options. So.
Yeah, I think it's the worst because it kind of like disempower the player, right? When you are looking something up on the internet, you kind of feel like, oh, okay, well, maybe I'm not smart enough to do this, or
Yeah.
this game has beaten me, and I don't think you want to create that kind of feeling in your player. You want them to, to feel like a boss, just playing your game and figuring out things and all of that. So yeah.
I mean, maybe this also could be due to how like games work nowadays, where a lot of people watch them on Twitch, a lot of people watch YouTube. So by making things really complicated or really difficult, you sometimes like basically create opportunities for people like us, for example, right? Well, although we don't really do this, but you create opportunities for people to create content about your game, and because the game is so complicated, people will be drawn to this content. But this feels like a very high IQ strategy now. I doubt that it was the idea.
Yeah, it's really strange actually. I wonder why they went for that. But so for example, like I remember like my first playthrough of Terraria like about quite a while ago, at least maybe 6-7 years ago. I don't even know if there was a hard mode back then, and I remember exactly getting to that point where I was like at the hell level and getting all my molten armor and pickaxe and everything, and stopping there. But maybe it's just because I didn't I didn't figure out that you could drop the door, and I didn't bother looking up a guide or anything. And so I really wonder, maybe I've missed like all that side of the game just because I didn't even know it was there. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, exactly. It seems like a weird choice, but yeah. All right, so we both agree that we don't really like this, right? You're not going to fight me on this one, right? Good.
No, definitely not.
So
and the inventory one, I just wanted to say something, and it's again, like they have like a interesting strategy, I think there, because I think the inventory system is kind of a mess and quite complex, and or you are supposed to use like which mouse button to drop or use the item or equip it and everything. It's all a bit non-intuitive, and it's funny how they I think they try to work around that by putting all these options next to the inventory, like how to sort the items and how to reorder them or to quick stack them and all of that. So and I've seen that in mining games where first you make like a very messy inventory system, and then you try to sort it by adding some kind of like golden paint on top of it instead of fixing the root cause of it, which I don't know. I don't know if you can fix it at all. Like maybe you have an idea how, but I'm just saying, it's interesting.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. Yeah, interesting. Although I've seen that when I was watching like more experienced players like play the game, it seemed like you do get used to it and you can work around the inventory being pretty shit. But for a player who doesn't have a lot of hours with the game, it's just a nightmare. Like you said, the side functionality maybe does help, but like making things favorite and like the sorting, but I don't know. I wasn't used to it, so it wasn't my natural instinct to go for that functionality.
Yeah, I remember like you being very frustrated in the beginning, like you almost stopped playing just just because of the inventory system, I think. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
I mean, it's really annoying because like you get some really cool drop, but you don't notice it, right? Because it's not, if you have your inventory full, it's not going to pick up, which seems like a bizarre decision, right? A lot of ARPGs which are based around drops, and I would claim that this game is also based around drops. Uh, like, you know, you get this moment of something awesome dropping, right? And you're supposed to be excited and pick it up. Here, like it drops, but if you don't notice, like it can just stay there, right? And you'll have no idea that it dropped, which is just bizarre.
yeah, no, yeah, definitely. And sometimes like the item are that are dropped are very very small, so yeah, it makes things even worse. Like
Yeah,
sometimes it can just be like a bullet or something that drops from a monster, and you barely see it. So unless you happen to move your mouse on top of it
yeah.
and then you have like that kind of text that appears and shows that there is a bullet. But yeah, it's and it's funny because in ARPGs in general, like they always have that feature where you can highlight the items that are on the floor, and so it makes me wonder actually if maybe we've been missing. Maybe there is that feature
Maybe there
somewhere,
is,
and
yeah, yeah.
we don't even know. Yeah,
Exactly, yeah.
crazy.
It's just another button in the messy inventory somewhere. I have no idea, or in the
Yeah,
settings, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's weird because I think they do have some kind of a priority for things that you pick up, right? So if you have like a good thing and then a bunch of bad things that drop, I think the good thing is like one of the first that goes into your inventory with the auto pickup. So they do have some
Oh,
kind of a
really?
priority. I think so. I'm not entirely sure, but I think if you have like 10 seeds and I don't know, some kind of an amazing sword or something, I think it would pick up the sword first. I didn't confirm this, but it seemed like it had some prioritizing of good stuff. But but yeah, so yeah, maybe they have some functionality for like identifying what might be good and what might be bad, but they definitely don't highlight it in any reasonable way in game, which is bizarre. Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, it is. It is so bizarre. And even like, deleting the items in your inventory. Like it took me a while
Yeah.
to find just how to trash my items. And even, I mean, even that feature is very strange. So, do you want to just explain how it works in the game or?
Well, I'm not even sure if I know how it works. You have like this
Okay.
like this
Yeah.
container,
So
right?
basically,
Like you throw it in, but it stays there until you throw something else in. Is it like this?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So basically, for those who don't know, yeah. So the inventory is like a set of squares, like maybe, I don't know, like 30 squares or something. And then you have like another extra square at the bottom right, I think, of the inventory, with like a little garbage bin next to it. Or is it next to it or inside the square? I can't remember. But yeah. Anyway, but basically when you move an item from your inventory square to like that specific bottom right square, it's supposed to delete it. But instead of deleting straight away, like in most games, I think, it stays there. So probably like so that you can cancel that deletion and you can get the item back just in case you deleted one of the epic drops of the game or something.
Yeah.
But it makes it very, very confusing because you're not sure if you have deleted it or not. And then if you want to delete another item, you see the square already full with another item, so you think you cannot delete another one. But you
Exactly.
can actually do that because you can drag another item on top of the old one and then you delete that one instead of
Yeah.
instead of the previous one. It's just very, very confusing, I think, the system. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I kept looking for some kind of a button to trigger the delete after putting something in there. I couldn't find one, so I thought that deleting doesn't work. But yeah, I was just stupid, I guess. Well, or at
Yeah.
least the game made me feel stupid because I couldn't figure it out. Aha! Yeah.
Yeah. And you have to see like basically a guide online just to
Yeah.
how to delete your item in in the inventory, which is a bit crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I wanted actually to discuss with you, now that we got kind of like the functionality complaints out of the way, I found it interesting how this game feels a lot like an ARPG. So basically an action RPG which is focused around drops, around basically progressing your character and getting stronger and stronger to be able to do, well, more difficult content. And this game feels very much like it. But they don't have any leveling. So instead, it's basically around crafting, right? You find better things, you craft better items from what you found. You defeat the bosses; those drop things that you can then craft into other things, and it has this ARPG feel to it, but it's entirely based on crafting, which is interesting. I'm not sure I've seen any other game that does this, well, except maybe Minecraft, but that's not so much focused around the bosses, although they are there.
Yeah, no, they definitely. Yeah, it's definitely one of the approach of Terraria, I think. And I think I have some complaints actually about that as well. I don't know if you had some and you wanted to carry on first, or I can.
Well, no,
Yeah,
I thought this was actually excellent. I want to hear what you don't like about this. You are mad.
Okay. Well, of course, I'm mad, but yeah, don't tell them so quickly. Okay. So the thing I didn't like about that is like, especially towards the end of the game. So let's say late hard mode, you end up having to farm like very specific items to basically have like a small upgrade of that allows you to maybe tackle the next boss or something like that. And I remember getting to a point, so I had like a melee character which fights with swords and is basically the tank of the team. So it has like a very strong armor and all that. And so I had to fight a monster called like the farm an ice tortoise repeatedly, because the ice tortoise in the late game has a 1% chance, I think, of dropping an item, and that item like does a very strong damage reduction on the damage you take from anything. And basically, so the 1% chance plus the fact that the ice tortoise spawns only in one specific area of the game and has a very low chance of spawning as well. So basically you get like one ice tortoise for like, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 normal monsters. And I mean, I remember like spending, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 hours trying to get that item and killing like, yeah, at least hundreds of tortoises,
Yeah.
but I never managed to get that drop. And it's extremely frustrating because the fact that it completely relies on crafting, you don't get any other reward from that action at all. So it's kind of like an all or nothing situation where if you get the drop, it makes you super happy and you get rewarded by that drop. If you don't, you've just wasted like 5 hours of your time just eating the same monster repeatedly, and you feel like it's a complete waste of time. Whereas if the game had maybe like a leveling element or like a skill level element where, I don't know, when you use a sword, you increase your proficiency with swords, for example. Well, at least you will get a small reward, another kind of reward from doing that repeatedly. And that's what bothered me about that system.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, basically you cannot progress until the drop actually, until you actually get the drop. Whereas in other games you could progress otherwise as well.
Yeah.
Although I'd say, yeah, I agree. Although, like most games where you level, you still have to get the drops anyway. So even in ARPGs, I mean, yeah, you will level and it will make you like slightly stronger, but you're still kind of looking for certain drops to complete your build, and that gives you a big power boost anyway. So it's not that different. You still have to like grind it and just get whatever drops. You have to kill those turtles, man. Like you're not going to get around it. You have to genocide the turtles, and yeah.
Then maybe it's about the kind of like the meaningfulness of that action, and because in that case in Terraria, it's basically it's the only reward you will get from that action. Whereas if you take another action RPG, I don't know, I'm not gonna say any names because probably we will cover them in another call, but you might get, I don't know, like even some currency or some gold from killing the tortoise, or you might get experience, or you might get like I said before, just like a skill progression, or you might get a different job that you didn't expect or anything. But when it's just like one-sided like that, all or nothing, it's really, really frustrating, and you really, you really, really need to want it really bad to, I don't know, yeah.
It makes you angrier.
I think it's
Yeah, and the
yeah,
turtles.
yeah.
You'll take that anger out on those turtles. So there's,
Oh yeah,
there's a
yeah.
there's a loop to it, a game loop. I can see it. I can see it. But yeah, no, I see what you're saying. Yeah, although I've seen this also in games where you do get other things. So yeah, there is a consolation prize that you get in many ARPGs. But at the end of the day, you're still waiting for that one thing, and if it doesn't drop, you're still feeling pretty frustrated. But yeah, I see what you mean. What I did like about
One thing to
no, go ahead, sir, go ahead, because I want to hear this silly argument that you bring up.
yeah, I love silly. But there is one feature though that I quite liked from that I kind of discovered. Well, let's say like it's an emerging system within the game. It's the fact that you can use some items to adjust like the spawn rates of enemies. So, for example, around, well, basically it's two specific items. I remember one that is the invisibility potion, and if you drink that, I think for 10 minutes, the spawn rates of enemies around you are lowered, so you get less spawns. But in that case, I was like using an item called the water candle, and basically, when you put the water candle somewhere, like again, it creates like a kind of area where monsters spawn more often. And so, what I had like an entire setup in the ice biome where the turtles spawn and everything, and I had like all kind of like water candles like set everywhere to maximize like the spawn rate of like that enemy. I mean, yeah, it's kind of interesting that you can adjust that, because it's usually like a mechanic that I don't think I've seen as something adjustable in many games at all. Did you?
I guess some games you do not change the environment, but you can buff yourself in certain ways to increase. I'm not so sure if I've seen it so much for density, but yeah, for like magic find, you could have it in some games. But yeah, it's interesting. I'm not sure also if you saw this, but apparently like the biomes, you can also artificially craft a biome. So if you want to create like a farming location, you could do it even just by like moving squares around and basically creating a biome for yourself. So they have some interesting systems for sure that I haven't seen elsewhere.
Yeah, and it reminds me as well of like the I saw online when I was looking for a way to beat like a specific boss. I saw a guy who was creating like a completely automated farm for like one specific boss. So basically, well, so just to say a tiny bit more, in the game you have those kind of like logical elements on wires and traps that you can build, kind of like in Minecraft actually. And if you hook all of that together, you can basically create like a kind of trap, so that when a monster gets nearby, it triggers the trap and the trap fires on the monster or something, or drops some lava on top of him, or yeah. Anyway, you like destroying the poor monster basically. And yeah, and that guy, that guy had managed to create like completely automated thing to farm a boss, which yeah, I thought was quite amazing. Like, people can work around systems, and yeah, it's funny.
Okay, interesting. Because I thought that you could just do this by being like a really powerful summoner. But yeah, I suppose for a boss that wouldn't be enough. It would probably still kill you. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I have to say that I appreciated this way of progressing because it feels a little bit more natural to me than leveling. I don't know why leveling is so popular in games, because it doesn't really, like, you don't get a level in real life, right? um, you stay more or less the same level. Okay, maybe you get a little bit stronger or a little bit smarter based on what you do, but you never level up. There is no like, you know, very distinct point where suddenly you've gained enough experience and you can like in real life click a level up button. But what does happen in real life is that, you know, if you buy a stronger gun, you are like seriously more powerful. So I do find that it is more intuitive this way. Maybe it's not more intuitive nowadays because people are so used to games where you just, you know, get that level. But it does feel more intuitive on like a lower level. Maybe for someone who's never seen a game before, this would make more sense, right? I need to make better armor. That's how I progress. Not, you know, I need to go out there and kill turtles to get XP, and then, you know, after an hour of killing turtles, I'll reach a level up point and I'll be able to pick a new passive or something which makes me considerably stronger. So I do find this kind of cool, but yeah, maybe, yeah, maybe it's more intuitive for me, but I appreciate it for, you know, for being fairly creative and not and going against the dogma of just always getting a new level.
Yeah, I think it's also because in real life you're probably still level 1, whereas I'm level 20 already, and you haven't figured out how to level up. But apart from that,
I'll have you know, I'm level 21, so get good.
But yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think probably the leveling thing is like an abstraction. It's just to abstract the fact that you get new skills and you get new learnings, and maybe you approach things differently. So that's why personally I prefer like skill-based systems or leveling systems. Kind of like, I don't know. Let me think of a game that was like that. So like an old RPG that used that was Ultima Online, or for example,
Yeah,
Anarchy Online, I think.
Morrowind's had this as well. No, Morrowind
Yeah,
was
true,
just
true.
skills.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Elder Scrolls. Yeah, well, quite a few actually. Yeah, and it feels a lot more natural to me. Yeah, definitely, because I don't know if you do a lot of cooking in real life, well, hopefully you're gonna get a little bit better each time at cooking, unless you're really doing something wrong. But yeah,
Yeah,
so it kind of makes sense.
I agree with this. I wasn't so much against like leveling up your skill, although there's still always a number, right? Like you go from 20 to 21, and that somehow makes you better. It was this number that I was opposed to because that feels kind of like what you mentioned earlier, right? Where they kind of want to give you something like a
A
consolation
reward.
prize, yeah, a reward basically
Yeah.
for just playing the game, so that you always have some, you know, some carrot to chase towards. And they just came up with, you know, a number being the carrot, as opposed to an item being the carrot, like Terraria does it. And I find the item being the carrot kind of more satisfying and more gratifying on a, on like an intellectual level, I suppose. Yeah, I would say so. Yes.
Yeah, maybe it's, yeah, I can see your point. Yeah, it's probably more satisfying intellectually, but like in terms of like making you addicted, I think the experience and skill-based approach is is probably much more efficient, because it means that any action you will do in the game like gives you an instant reward. It's a bit like the peanuts of like real life, right? Like if you eat a peanut, you have that instant kind of reward of, yeah, it's
I'm
called
allergic.
dopamine.
I'm allergic.
Ah, well, yeah. So I should give you more peanuts then. But yeah, it's like a very easy and instant and constant reward loop that you give to the player, and keeps him hooked because he wants more. So he wants that same kick of like having something cool each time he does something. Whereas the high time is much more scarce, and so I don't think it creates the same kind of addiction. Like when I was playing Terraria, I didn't feel hooked on it at all. Don't know how you felt, but yeah.
I guess I agree. Yeah, sorry, I wasn't really listening. I was thinking about how much you must love peanuts, but but yeah,
I
okay.
love the peanuts, man.
I hear you. I hear you. So no, yeah, I guess I feel yeah, I felt a little bit of a hook because I looked up what you can get next and I wanted to get it. Uh, so I did feel kind of a hook to keep playing to get that. But you're right, because it wasn't giving me those little breadcrumbs along the way to keep me going. It was a lot easier to just give up and say, okay, I'm done for today. I won't get it anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
But maybe that's
So
good.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's. I mean, I'm not saying it's probably a good thing for well-being, but then yeah, it feels like when you engage with the game, it's like from your own choice, and it's not because you absolutely need it and you need to play one more level and you need to get a bit more experience or something. And yeah, so it's more about your choice than just being like a total need that you cannot fight or anything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true.
which is good.
And I guess they still kind of had it, just well, while you were still in the process of mining things, because there you can always find another vein of some ore, and you get a little bit more ore, and you can turn it into bars. So you have like smaller steps, but yeah. Um, yeah, I don't know. I still think that it's better that the game doesn't have levels and doesn't have experience. Um, but yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe it doesn't keep you as hooked as like some other games would with their massively addictive systems.
Hmm. Hmm. One thing I noticed as well in the game, and I wanted to ask your point of view on that. Actually, it's like, so did you do lots of like the boss fights in the game and?
Loads, loads. Ask me.
Okay, no, because I thought, especially toward the end of the game, that the boss fights get really, really epic and pretty awesome. Like they have an amazing feel to it. Like it's like you have, I don't know, you have like so much shit happening on your screen during the boss fight, which makes it maybe a bit confusing, but at the same time it feels really, really epic. And when you beat the boss, it's like you have well, again, it goes back to that reward mechanic. It's like you feel like you've really achieved something, because you've been fighting for like 10 minutes, that crazy boss that keeps shooting like 10 spells at the same time at you and your friend if you're playing with friends. And so how do you think they managed to make the boss fight feel epic like that?
Well, I think they have pretty good art in the game. Everything from like the backgrounds, the music, the effects, and the sprites, like it all looks really, really good. So I think they have really good art design, which definitely helps. Um, I would say that's probably the number one thing, that they create a good feel, a good atmosphere, and make it very immersive through the art. I wouldn't say that the combat system is so good, because I'd say that if you are strong enough, like most bosses won't pose any problem. You just have to, follow the correct guide or whatever to become OP. And I think usually you have a path to becoming strong enough to take out any boss without too much skill. So I would say that it's mainly the art, I think. I don't know, do you agree?
Yeah, with the art, yeah, definitely. I would say about the skill, I probably disagree when you get to the hand game, though, because well, the end game, like I remember being stuck on, yeah, let me think, at least 4 different bosses where I had to try with a friend to kill them quite a few times, and especially the last boss. I think I tried like 15 times or something before managing to kill him. And there was no way to get any stronger in the game or by getting like better items or anything. And it just, yeah, you need to get a tiny bit lucky with RNG and yeah, do everything perfectly right, I think, to kill the boss. Otherwise, yeah, you make one big mistake and you're dead. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, maybe you have to dodge the mechanics, yeah, like the I beams and things like this. But I was like, I was thinking that, are you sure that you couldn't get any stronger? Because I thought that there's usually a path to be able to take out anything, but it's not always so straightforward to how to get to that. Well,
Yeah, no, like towards. I'm thinking mostly about the Moon Lord. I don't know if you fought that one yet, but yeah, I think both my friends and we had roughly the best items we could get. And even then, and as well, we were kind of like cheesing a little bit because we basically in Terraria, what you can do is, since you can change the environment and everything, you can create like the best possible condition in the environment for the boss fight. And we created the absolute best conditions we could get for like that boss fight. We had like a gigantic platform that was like at least, I don't know, 20 screens long, like an horizontal platform. And and on each side of the platform we had like teleporters set up. And basically what I was doing the entire fight, since I was the tank of the team, I was starting at one side of the platform. We were spawning the boss, and I was just running nonstop from one end of the platform to the other end, taking the teleporter who would send me back to the beginning of the platform, and then start running again. And since I was tanking, basically the boss was just running after me most of the time. While my friend was like a kind of like blast cannon caster or something, it was just like shooting nonstop at the boss. So, and we both had like the best equipment we could find on anything, and even with the cheese and the best equipment, we really struggled. Like we tried, I don't know how many times before killing him. So yeah.
so you think it's skill based? You think that everybody has to basically learn the mechanics and be able to dodge them, or else it doesn't work?
Yeah, I think so. Well, I've learned online again after beating him that some guys have found like apparently cheese methods that can work completely like, and you can actually kill him by yourself and even with crap equipment and everything. But yeah, you really have to research it and find the cheesy way. And so it's not obvious at all, I think. And yeah, so in a way, even finding the cheese becomes like quite skilled by itself. So yeah.
Yeah. Maybe you're right. I'm not sure if like getting killed over and over again though really contributes to making a fight very epic. It just makes it very frustrating, and it makes you feel good when you finally like manage to kill something. But usually fights feel epic even when they're like fairly easy, just because of like music starts playing, the art is cool, the effects are awesome. Like after you've seen a fight 20 times because you keep getting killed over and over, it doesn't feel that epic anymore. You kind of zone everything out. But it does make
No,
it
yeah.
gratifying. Yeah, it does make it cool when you finally manage to kill the boss. That is true.
Yeah. No, definitely. And actually, like the Moonland fight, I felt was less epic than the boss fight that you get before the Moonland with like the cultist. And I think that's exactly for the reason you said. It's because like you have so many effects going on the screen and so many art being thrown at you, and it's flashy everywhere. And the sound effects are also very good because you have that cultist who takes like a deep, somber, evil voice, a bit like yours, and keeps saying like spells in a kind of demonic voice and everything. And it feels really, really epic. And it's really hard to say. It's really like a feeling about that you get from just playing it. And
Yeah, exactly. And I think like this can make a pretty like easy fight feel memorable. Like you can make things memorable, I'd say in two ways. Either they're like really, really cool because of probably most likely art and the mechanics around it, or memorable by being so like insanely difficult that you spend hours trying to do it and then you feel amazing when you finally achieve it. And I guess it's good to have a mix of both in a game.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
So
I think their art in general is amazing. What they can pull off is really astonishing. I think they have a fairly small team, so they must have some pretty talented people.
Yeah, and it says a lot about what you need to create as art because, yeah, Terraria is only pixel art in 2D, right? So there is no like super fancy 3D that you would find in a game like Skyrim or Cyberpunk or something like that, and it still feels really good. So it shows that you don't really need that much, I think.
Exactly.
And
Yeah. Even for armor, like you can visually tell apart different armor, which is pretty astonishing for for a game that you can barely tell apart. I don't know, a shovel from a sword, right? But somehow like the armors feel different and look different. So uh, they do have really good art design, I'd say. Yeah. Yeah, maybe
yeah,
that.
definitely.
Yeah, maybe that's actually one of the main things why the game is so popular because the art is so pretty. Because I do think that it has like we've already mentioned quite a few things that are pretty shitty about it, but the art is amazing.
Yeah, no, definitely, definitely. So I think is it time to start wrapping up?
Yeah, I guess we can. I guess we can wrap this up. I guess we both kind of like the game, right? It's a pretty good game. It's not
Oh,
the
definitely. Yeah. I love that game. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
I wouldn't say it's the best game ever, but it's definitely a game where you can chill out. You have progression. Okay, you have to look it up, most likely, which kind of sucks. But hey, it is what it is. But it is a chill game with some really cool art, and it's pretty fun.
It's a really good game. Yeah. I think the amount of content they managed to put inside the game as well is really impressive. Like you have so many different mechanics and specific features. Like yeah, I'm just thinking of like so when you kill the Moon Lord, eventually you get the Portal gun. So it's the same gun you have in Portal. For those of you who played Portal, and it works exactly the same way. Like yeah, you
Hmm.
can create like a portal that gets you from one place to the other and
Yeah.
stuff. And the game is filled with elements like that, like all the way. So yeah, it's quite amazing.
Yeah, it's really cool what they managed to squeeze into their crafting system. So many different things that you can actually do with it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
kudos to that. We're not gonna give it a rating, but it's a good game for sure.
definitely. Play